I'm Aryeh Schwartz along with Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr show where it's all about the W. The Liberty took the Cup versus Aces, and Rachel's back stateside, so we know we got a lot to discuss, so let's get it off the jump.
If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. That's patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we all do covering the W. And don't forget our amazing stats-written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. And make sure you are joining us for the newest, most fun way to enjoy WNBA games. We're over on Playback. We have these fun watch parties. Use the link playback.tv/Winsidr. That's playback.tv/Winsidr.
Welcome back to the Winsidr show. Very excited, happy that we got Rachel back stateside to discuss all the happenings in the W. But most importantly, the biggest news in the WNBA today, before we get back to the regular scheduled programming of the season, is the Commissioners Cup. Rachel, reactions to the New York Liberty taking the Cup 82-63 in Vegas. I know it doesn't count towards any stats or anything like that, but like first loss in 15 home games for Vegas?
Yeah, 15. I mean, Vegas has been undefeated at home. So, I thought that was a really gutsy win by New York. I'm a little bit surprised. Las Vegas, that second half, how do you pull down just 4 rebounds in the second half? I think that New York, and what's most impressive about New York is it's not like Brianna Stewart played phenomenally. It's not like Sabrina Ionescu shot exceptionally well. Now, from 3-point line, she had some absolute daggers down the stretch. But Jonquel Jones really, the JJ that we were talking about a couple of months ago versus the JJ that we're talking about now is exactly what you want to see. I love that Jones came out, with a vengeance. Finished with 16 points, 15 rebounds, ended up being named MVP. And I think you have, Maureen Johannes comes in and just absolutely was phenomenal off the bench for New York with 17 points, 5 of 7 from the 3-point line. To me, Maureen and JJ were the difference makers in that game, just across the board steadily. And I just felt like Las Vegas didn't have an answer for them. I don't want to say I felt like Vegas ran out of gas, but I don't really know what that was that I watched the second half. You know what I'm saying? It was so unusual for Vegas to kind of, I don't know, just they didn't have that fire in them that I'm accustomed to seeing. And you look at the rebounding numbers. I can't remember the last time I've seen Vegas get absolutely manhandled on the glass, 49-28. That's the difference in the game right there.
Yeah, the last time I think of is that Atlanta Dream game early in the season. No, completely. We talk about the first 5 minutes of the game, nobody scored. Vegas ends with 11 points in the first quarter, 9 points in the third quarter. How, just so many questions, so many things are wow. Did Vegas seem a little bit phoning it in? Yes. Does that change anything? No, because I think there's a message that has been sent. It's New York beat Vegas once. Okay, we got some doubters, whatever. But New York is peaking at the right moment. You and I were texting about this during the game last night. Just an ideal situation for New York. Has Vegas kind of hit a wall, as it were? What's your take on the state of the Liberty Vegas rivalry, matchup, marquee, battle, whatever you want to call it?
I think I love that New York is really, this is exactly what we had hoped, I think, and kind of anticipated, that this team was going to take a little bit to hit their stride. You're going into the end of August basketball, and this is exactly how you want to be playing. And again, it's not like they're all playing phenomenally across the board, but there are so many weapons on this team, and it's so good to see Jonquel Jones coming along that way. When Brianna Stewart, goes 4 of 16, there's other pieces that can really step in. I really love the depth of New York right now across the board. And I think that New York is is continuing to play better night in and night out. I mean, I felt like there was a big gap between Las Vegas and everybody else in the league. And now I don't feel that as much. I mean, you look at some of the margins of these games between these two teams. New York has beat Vegas twice. I mean, these have not been close games. And even when Vegas beat New York. So it's really interesting to analyze. I think for me, Las Vegas, I feel like they're hitting a little bit of like a lull right now. I think it does hurt a little bit with Parker and not having Parker in the rotations, and they're missing that depth, that they were playing with a little bit earlier in the season. But I'm a little more concerned about like shot selection and like fluidity offensively with this team that like I feel like particularly in this last matchup really like was not there, especially in the second half. It was weird to see they weren't able to get out and run and make decisions and make plays, and just really weird. Like, I don't know what they were running. It felt really unusual to watch Vegas that second half. And I mean, yeah, credit to New York. They're playing defense a little bit. They're making things disruptive, but it's more than that to me. It's like decision making and intentionality by Las Vegas and how they're getting their shots and the types of actions that they're running don't seem in sync to me right now. But back to your question, I mean, I don't feel like that gap is as big as it used to be. But if I'm a Vegas person, am I super concerned? Like, no, because I think this team could use this as like a swift kick in the you-know-what and, have a chip in their shoulder. And the next time these two teams are competing for, what we kind of are anticipating could be a championship. I mean, who knows? But, the edge that we know this Vegas team has, but what is it about this matchup with New York that sometimes like it's not clicking? But again, I mean, New York is closing that gap is what I'm trying to say.
New York's closing that gap, and I'll say this: like a week and a half ago, I thought there was it was closer between New York and Connecticut than it was New York and Vegas. That's no longer the case. But completely, everything you said, the out of sync for me, that's what it was. A lot of stagnant, a lot of just there wasn't flow to their game, and that's something that I don't think we've even necessarily ever seen from Vegas from a whole game, is for them to be so out of sync, out of sorts. And props to New York for putting the pedal to the gas and pressing that button and forcing a team to do that. I mean, that doesn't just happen when you're a team as good as the Las Vegas Aces. What are your thoughts on it being on Prime?
Oh my gosh. First off, I will never take for granted again some of the announcers that we have become accustomed to listening to, and just the energy that they bring to the game. Like, I don't want to like bash too much, but man, I was having a really hard time watching that game last night from that perspective as like a TV viewer. The energy, it was lacking energy, and I really had a hard time with it. Maybe it's because I'm jet lagged. I don't know. And I was like falling asleep during the game, but I was really missing some energy that was brought to a game of that caliber. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, Prime, I mean, I have it, so I'm not necessarily like, I know I can watch it, so I don't worry about it too much. But then on the other hand, it does feel like a missed opportunity. I mean, great for Amazon Prime, getting the rights to that game. But at the same time, like, if the league is trying to push this Commissioners Cup, which in my opinion is still missing the boat in some degree. Like, I can't quite get into it. Maybe others are more into it than I am, but like, I'm watching this game, I guess. But like, okay, we're playing for like 10 grand, and like, it doesn't really matter in the standings. And so, I mean, I guess there is a different element to it that, it's fun to watch just the matchup in general, but I'm not full on board quite understanding the hype around it. But I think it's a great opportunity to watch a great game.
It's the coolest trophy in the league.
Well, it is a cool trophy. I'll give them that. It is a cool trophy. But
okay,
yeah,
so here's my thing. No,
it feels like a missed opportunity.
20 million people, or 200 million people have Amazon Prime. So if ESPN, who has been the worst partner to the league, doesn't want to pony up the money and give this a marquee headline showing on, national television, how many people tune in? So look, if Amazon's going to pony up some money to the league, make that money.
No, I understand. I totally agree with you from that perspective. Like, we just assume, everything, the pinnacle is ESPN, right? From that perspective, I love the idea.
Pinnacle for women's sports.
But you know what I'm saying? Like in our minds, that's what we become so accustomed to. Like if something is a big matchup, it needs to be on ESPN. I love the idea of another platform or another, streaming opportunity to watch a game coming into the mix and being competitive for a game like this. I'm totally with you on that. And I love that there's someone that there's starting to be more competition, and other people want the rights to something like that. So no, I totally agree with you on that.
So where do you think the Suns stand given the new power structure of this league, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's two at the top and everybody else. you know, Connecticut's lost a couple in a row. I mean, New York is the hottest team in the league right now. They've won 7 in a row, 6 in a row, if you actually count what applies to standings. And so, and Vegas, I think they still deserve to be on that pinnacle because it's Las Vegas Aces. And we know, despite we've had a couple games where they haven't played well, we know how good this team is. And we know they're going to bring it come playoff time. So I think because of that just separation of New York, I really do. I feel like there's a bigger gap now between 2 and 3. And Connecticut, I love Connecticut. I love watching this team. I think they're gritty. I think they're tough. I think that they can win some games and cause some frustrations. I just don't see them on the same plane as Las Vegas and New York anymore. What about you?
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, my thing is Connecticut and Dallas have fatal flaws. New York and Vegas can lose games, and they have some flaws that teams can take advantage of. They don't have that, like, every game there's that question, right? Like, we know you can attack this angle on Vegas, you can attack this angle on New York, but you don't have that question of, can they score? Can they produce enough points to win the game, even if their defense is playing amazing? You have that question with Connecticut. You have that question with Dallas. Basically, every game.
Yeah, I agree. And I would even say, I mean, like with Las Vegas, where we stand right now, especially after the game the other night against New York for the Commissioners Cup, I mean, I'm starting to question the depth. I didn't question that as much earlier in the season. We talked about it at nauseum last year, right? Like, and it was almost the perfect storm. They had to stay healthy. Everybody had to play well, and they went on and ended up winning a championship with very little depth. Now, because of them missing Candace Parker, and because of we looked at the bench points last night, that was a glaring difference. New York doesn't have anybody like a Johannes who's going to come in and give you 17 to 20. On any given night and be a huge, could be a starter on another team in this league. I'm really starting, you're talking about weaknesses. So that's why I'm bringing this up. I really question Las Vegas's depth right now. That's a problem.
You're not wrong. I mean, these are serious concerns. They had Alycia Clark. They looked much deeper than they were last year. But at a certain point, like, if a defense can just sag off of Kia Stokes, and if Alycia Clark isn't hitting those 3-pointers that she's known for hitting, it's a serious, serious issue. Hate to do this to you, Rachel. I'm still up 3 in Bingham. We got Liberty at Aces.
Yeah, I love the rematch. I like the back-to-back. I'll be really interested to see. And poor New York having to go there and play 2 games back-to-back. But I mean, okay, a rematch on Thursday with New York and Las Vegas. I just don't. I guess I'm going to go with Vegas. I don't see them losing 2 games in a row at home. I think they're going to. I think Becky Hammon got it in their ass a little bit after this one, and it's going to be a rude awakening. And I think there's going to. I mean, if this is the team I think they are, they should come out guns a-blazing and playing really pissed off. And I just don't see New York beating them back-to-back. I'm going Vegas. You?
I have to agree with you. It's just hard to see them. Not right. Even just back-to-back, but like basically 3 in a row.
Right.
Mystics at Fever.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, man. How's my Fever doing? I'm going to go Mystics. You?
I'm torn on this one, but I think the Mystics are they have a fire lit under their ass, and they understand the playoffs are 10 or less games away. It's time to run. But because you are losing, I'll go Fever.
Oh,
Wings
okay.
at Sun. I'll do that for you, Rachel.
There we go. Wings at Sun.
Wings at Sun.
This is a tough one. I mean, doesn't it feel like a coin flip? You know, like, man, that's tough. I think that, man, this is
I'm
hard.
going Wings.
You're going Wings. I'm going Connecticut. Just to mix
Cool.
it up. We've got to get some parity in this.
Also, next one, I'm picking a select few for this pick'ems. Sky at Dream is a fun one.
Is it?
Cold-blooded. I think it is because, like, the Sky are the type of team.
They've both lost 3 in a row. You know, both teams are really, really looking for a win here. I just don't see Chicago. Just overall talent, I don't think Chicago is as good as Atlanta. So I'm going Dream.
I'm going to go, I agree with you, but I'll be nice. I'm going to go Dream, Chicago on this. No, because I think Chicago's just that team that, like, you don't know what you're going to get. They're a fun team. You shouldn't bet on them. You should not bet on them.
No.
But randomly, they're going to be really fun to watch and just have a crazy game. And I'm okay with that.
Okay with that too. Okay.
Okay, cool. So then, Rachel, just real quick, I know you've been out of the country. You've been seeing the next wave of basketball. Any player that stood out in your time at the, what was it, U16 tournament in Turkey?
Yeah. I mean, I was over in Izmir, Turkey, watching the under 16s, and it's been an unbelievable event. I mean, it's so fun for me to watch these players. I mean, this is kind of my starting ground for, you know, just seeing this next up and coming generation of players. I mean, a lot of these kids were 14, 15 years old playing so well. So, you know, you kind of can't help but wonder, like, how far can these kids go? And what, you know, do we end up seeing anybody, you know, like from this event that I was just at, making it to the league? I mean, I was really impressed with Slovenia. I think Slovenia has a couple really solid players that there's a young guard on there who's just 14 years old that was really poised and played a lot older than what she looked like. France is always a really fun team to watch with their just length and their athleticism and the way they, you know, just fly around the court and make plays. And Spain is always a really steady and consistent team that is really skilled from the guard spot, but has, you know, some interior depth and some really young, promising prospects. Greece has a player that is a nice little guard who's really solid. And I mean, I could go down the list. I'm literally sitting here today before we recorded this show, just rewatching it and gathering my notes together. Anybody who knows me knows I've gone to this event for like the last 15 years. So it's been really fun to watch a lot of the players that, you know, we've even seen in the league. I had a chance to watch them at this stage. So it's really fun to see everybody like at this age when they're still very much babies, but you can watch them and you can kind of project, man, this is going to be a really special player.
I love it. So maybe you had like a realization when you were on this trip and you came to a final decision of, Rachel, who's your GOAT?